anything where he could make a few dollars so he could buy supplies so he could go to work. Now that the sun's coming around this side of the mountain, it's getting a little harder to see. So you start with the hand coming down, you'll see a darker piece of the rock. It actually has a white line through it. That would be the outline of the horse's ear. Straight down from there, there is a circle for the eye. Just above the tree line, you'll see the single line. That's for the leg. That is all that's left of the outline that he painted on the mountain. Now, Mr. Korchak hung off of this mountain. He did it with a 1-inch rope and a gallon of White House paint strapped to his belt. And he went through about 170 gallons of paint in this process. His wife Ruth was in the parking lot. She had walkie-talkie and binoculars, and she helped him through all of this. But the problem was the town folks. A lot of them couldn't understand what he was doing, and they just simply thought he was crazy. So when he actually finished up, there was quite a few in the parking lot waiting for him. He said he got a little sad because they thought all he was going to do was paint on the side of the mountain and go home. But he said he finally caught up with Ruth. He got a big smile on his face. Ruth didn't ask him to go back up top and do a second coat. Now that hole underneath his arm, he said that was some of the hardest work he's ever done. That took him 2 years to complete. It is 4 stories tall. It's wide enough for 2 bulldozers to go through at the same time. And he needed that hole there so he was able to get equipment back and forth on both sides of the mountain. Now Mr. Korchak, he came out here to meet up with Chief Henry Standing Bear. The chief was a well-educated Native American, and he believed in education for his people. And Ruth and Mr. Korchak also believed in a good education. So he went out and got all this land around here he could, and over the years of trading, selling, and buying, he eventually got it all together. There's 1,000 acres out here. So the hope and dream one day is that Crazy Horse is going to be a backdrop to a Native American college and a medical training facility here on site. Now we do have a college here. It's a mile south of the main entrance. The kids live upstairs, go to school downstairs. They come from all over the United States, and it's basically at no cost to them. And that was the chief's dream, to be able to give a good education to his people. Now technically, since we left the parking lot, we've been riding on the mountain. They've taken out over 8 million tons of rock so far. They repurposed that rock. That's what made all the roads out here. So they try not to waste what they take off. And we also have an individual that takes rock back to the visitor center. You can actually take a piece of the mountain home with you if you like. Now Mr. Korchak wanted this as a mining claim, but he had to go back east to take care of his household stuff to get it shipped out here. And unfortunately, while he was gone, the gentleman got word he was coming out here to claim the mountain, and he claimed it first. So when Mr. Korchak got back out here, he was a little upset that the gentleman would do that to him. So him and the chief met with the individual and his son, explained what they wanted to do, and they were nice enough to sell the claim to him. So in return, they were told they could stay on this land as long as they wanted to. Here on the left is the actual shack that they lived in. And then later down the road, he hired them to do odd jobs for him. Now when he first got out here, he didn't have money to hire workers. So for years, he did all the work up there by himself. Now he's got 10 kids. He's got 5 girls and 5 boys. When the boys were old enough, they started working up on top with their father. Well, one day when his sons was up top working, he was on the bulldozer over here on the right. Dad was down below on another dozer working. And unfortunately for his son, the brakes went out. His son went over the cliff with it. He bailed out about halfway down, fell about 70 feet, and couldn't have gotten any luckier. He landed in the only pile of fresh plowed dirt. So it beat him up some, but he survived the fall. Now Mr. Korchak stated that he assumed his son had been killed in the fall. He said, I was surprised when I looked over and saw my son standing up brushing his clothes off. But like any good father, he hollered over his son and he told him, you got it here, and you get it out of here. This road in front of us, that is the only way to the top, so that's where everybody travels. It goes straight up to the right, back behind the rock formation up towards his head.
Sorry.
They're off at 1 o'clock today. Weekends and holidays usually starting at 9. There's no workers. The Inside Visitor Center, weather permitting, they do run a 1-hour tour to the very top. Now we got a lot of activity going on this left side of this mountain this year. We have a 250-foot crane coming in with a robotic arm. It's going to be stationary. It's going to be butted up against his left elbow. So they're trying to finish the elbow and the pad to get the crane in. They're almost done with the hand. They've started doing some work on the horse's mane, and they're going to start doing some work on his left shoulder. So there's going to be quite a bit of activity going on this year up there. Now there's probably another 6 million tons to come off, but once this is finished, this will be a 3-sided monument. This will also be the largest carving monument in the world when it's finished. Now we're going to jump out down here. I'll give you a minute to take some pictures, then I'll give you the history of how this all got started. Only favor I ask is that you please must stay in this rope area, and especially do not go past the cones out into the road, please. When you get traffic that comes through here, and they're usually driving way too fast.
Take pictures.
This way.